Hello and welcome to another special bonus episode of Damn Interesting Week. This bonus episode goes out to all our birders, bird watchers, and yes, even the twitchers, as well as all our normal fans who have no idea what I'm talking about. Because birds are cool no matter who you are, and this collection of our favorite bird articles is sure to prove it to you. My name is Jennifer Lee Noonan.
I'm Angela Epley.
I'm Spurr-Chen.
I'm Bradley Calhoun.
And these were some damn interesting weeks.
First Link.
This article comes to us from ScienceAlert.com, and it's titled Source of a Weird Quantum Sense Found in an Actual Migratory Bird for the First Time.
Hey.
Yeah.
Whoa, like birds are sensing quantum energy?
That's the way this seems to be going, yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm just getting more and more uncomfortable with every article today. This is crazy.
So, long hypothesized as means by which animals might sense the tug of Earth's weak magnetic field, a non-classical response to light has been observed taking place within a protein expressed in the eyes of a night migratory songbird. A collaboration between researchers from institutions around the globe puts the small bird's cryptochrome protein complex through its paces to see how it responded to being illuminated continuously and in flashes of blue light both inside and outside of a weak magnetic field. So, while it stops short of proving the small birds rely on a quantum quirk of chemistry, you're welcome, Jen, to stay on course as they cross Europe, the finding provides crucial evidence in support of the theory of magnetoreception's role in navigation. So, the way it works is certain atoms in the protein with a lone electron swinging around in its outer shell could be partnered with another solitary electron in what's known as a radical pair, effectively entangling their characteristics. And the nature of this partnership can be affected by a magnetic field. Struck with a specific dose of energy in the form of blue light, a radical pair will fluoresce in different ways depending on how they're entangled. So in other words, the quantum nature of the relationship between two electrons in the right structure of protein can use light to signal different strengths of a magnetic field, even one as weak as Earth's. So the researchers compared the robin's cryptochrome with a similar protein complex copied from chickens, a bird not known for taking journeys any more arduous than crossing the occasional road. In addition, the researchers analyzed cryptochromes from common pigeons. The laboratory tests suggest the cryptochromes in robins are up to the job of sensing the subtle influence of Earth's magnetic field, more so than those in chickens and pigeons at least. Further studies will somehow need to be carried out humanely and ethically on live subjects if we're to confirm quantum actions of cryptochrome are indeed what tells robins which way to go for a warm winter break. As for what the tiny bird actually sees when it detects a magnetic field, that part we will only ever be able to imagine. But earlier this year, a team of researchers from the University of Tokyo found a similar protein in humans was capable of responding to blue light in different ways, depending on the strength of a nearby magnetic field.
Yeah. This is like that Descartes thing where how do I know that what I see as blue is what you see as blue? Like maybe there are people among us who are sensing quantum stuff and they don't really realize it. Like to them, they're just like, oh, I just have a gut feeling. Or like, I just tend to be a really lucky person. And someday we're going to figure out those people the whole time were sensing quantum stuff and somehow their brain was guiding them towards what was going to be the lucky outcome because they somehow knew what was entangled. And
Yeah, and it's funny to me that this has always been, like theoretical, pop, sci-fi, magical realism, blah, blah, blah. And then they do a study and they're like, no, human beings can actually respond to magnetic fields. That's totally a thing. Which, I mean, we always knew that we respond to electromagnetic fields because we're like animals and just not as sensitively. But the fact that this is apparently a entanglement derived effect is pretty crazy.
Right. That's where you start to get me in the whole like the reality is nothing. This is all a dream. I got to go back to meditating. Like this is...
Next link.
Next link. this one was racing through the internet amidst all the other muck we have to kind of make our way through these days. But did you guys hear about the parrots that were removed from UK family safari park after teaching each other to swear?
I saw a headline, but I didn't click on it. Is it good?
Oh boy. I mean, it's short and it's sweet, but basically what happened was there was a flock of 5 African gray parrots that were newly adopted into this wildlife park, but they had to remove them from public display because not only did they start swearing at people visiting the park, but they started laughing about it too. They accepted the new flock on August 15th. And you know, African greys are some of the, if not the most intelligent parrots that we're aware of. They can have personalities. They have a really expansive vocabulary that they learn from humans. So what happened was when these birds were taken in, they were quarantined together and they essentially taught each other how to swear. And so because, you know, they were doing this, it made the staff laugh, but that just encouraged the birds even more.
That's right. Now they've learned it's funny, just like a kid.
Exactly right. So they learned that they were getting positive feedback from it, so they kept doing it and then incorporated the laughing into their retinue, as it were. And this is not entirely new to the park. The park's chief executive officer, Steve Nichols, said, "We have always taken in parrots that have sometimes had a bit of a blue language, and we've gotten really used to that. So every now and then you'll get one that swears. It's always funny. But just by coincidence, we took in 5 in the same week, and because they were all quarantined together, it meant that one room was just full of swearing birds." And then the more they swear, the more you laugh, which then triggers them to swear again. So it was this just like escalating bird cuss laugh over and over. He even said that it led to something akin to, quote, an old working men's club scenario, which is such a British way of phrasing it.
I don't even know what that is, an old working men's club.
But I'm sure you can imagine it.
Oh, I can make some stuff up, yeah.
So within 20 minutes of these parrots being on display to the public, there were reports of the parrots swearing at a customer. And while the visitors saw the funny side of it, the team were worried because they had a weekend coming up and were expecting a lot of young children. So even though they want to give people some lighthearted relief, they decided to put the birds in a place where they could not be heard before the children arrived. So now they're put into separate groups. They basically had to separate them because they were causing too much trouble in the classroom.
That's not what you do. Now each individual gray parrot is going to teach his new friends. This is just going to spread.
They didn't indicate whether the groups are going to be all African greys or all parrots or maybe a mixed aviary, but...
Oh, they'll put them with a bunch of dumb birds. So they can...
Maybe. I'm assuming they kind of know what to do in terms of, you know, how to handle this, but...
Right.
I do like how it's kind of a lighthearted contagion scenario.
Yeah.
Instead of
Absolutely.
respiratory problems, you get swearing problems.
And laughter. I mean, I really feel like this is something that if their social media team were a little bit wise, they would maybe put it with like a content warning or something, but I would pay good money to see this. Next link.
Next link. This article comes to us from scientificamerican.com, and it's titled Young Ravens Rival Adult Chimps in a Big Test of General Intelligence.
Whoa.
So, scientists and casual observers alike have known for years that ravens and their corvid relatives are really smart, but most studies use just a single experiment that provide a limited view of their overall intelligence. Quite often, in single tasks, you're just testing whether the bird can understand that you're hiding something. So Simone Pica, a cognitive scientist, turned to a large group of tests that study co-author Esther Herman originally developed in 2007 to investigate cognitive performance in great apes and human children. These physical tests measured the bird's abilities to track objects in space and to understand numbers. For example, researchers placed a reward under a certain cup and then moved that cup around with several others to see if the ravens could track which one contained the reward. And under the social test umbrella, the researchers measured how well the birds could follow cues given by an experimenter. So the human would signal which cup contained a reward by looking or pointing at it, or showed the ravens how to access the reward, and then observed whether they could actually apply what they had observed. They repeated the same 33 tasks for each raven at 4, 8, 12, and 16 months of age, and they were surprised to find that just by 4 months old, the birds had mastered most of these tasks to the point where, almost across the board, the young ravens' results compared similarly to those of adult chimpanzees and orangutans who had taken the same test. Based on earlier studies comparing human performance against that of other apes, Herman surmises that children who are about 2.5 years old would outperform ravens in social cognition tasks, but would be about equal to birds for most of the physical cognition tests.
Hey, all right.
Good to know. Humans are dumb.
Yeah.
I'm ready for this like Olympic showdown, right? Are you stronger than a 2-year-old human, Crow?
Yeah, and there's actually a video on this article too of a researcher, putting the reward under a cup and then swapping them around and then pushing it through a little cage to the raven, who immediately taps the right cup. It's pretty wild to just be like, yeah, I have object permanence. Thank you very much.
That's right.
Yeah. So in some ways, the findings about raven intelligence are expected, but they're important in terms of validating the bird's cognitive performance. So, we've kind of had this bias towards the great apes because that's who we descended from. But, it's not just us. We're not just the only smarties in the room, so to speak.
Yeah.
There are some important caveats, one of which is that Pika and her colleagues only worked with 8 birds, and the cognitive challenges the ravens were presented with in a captive environment differ from those that they'd face in the wild.
Not a lot of prey animals are hiding themselves under cups and then moving around and hoping to escape.
Exactly.
But
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
the analogs in nature, like leaf litter or, in a log or something like that, there have to be some kind of analogs there.
Yeah, definitely. So one thing that surprised the researchers is that the ravens didn't do as well as expected on spatial tasks, which was surprising because birds spend their life navigating large areas by wing. So they thought they'd do a little better on that. But the ravens could have also been thrown off because they were interacting with humans rather than members of their own species. And if you imagine having raven demonstrators for human toddlers or great apes, how well would they perform?
Well, and we have all of these sort of historical records of ravens talking, right? Like they can talk like parrots can. I don't know. I have this weird fantasy of like the dinosaurs actually achieved full-on intelligence and sentience, and then they had civilizations and they invented smartphones and then they nuked themselves to death. And like their whole society rose and went down within, 10,000 years, kind of like ours. And and these are like just the leftovers, and that they will rise again once we're done with ourselves.
They're just biding their time. Just because they can speak doesn't mean they always want to. It's almost kind of like cat-like behavior. And by the way, I'm pretty sure what you just described is very close to a Doctor Who episode I've seen. So
oh, yeah? Oh,
you may need to look that up.
I will.
Next link.
Next link. All right, I'm going to quiz you guys right quick.
Uh-oh.
A flightless bird that is not an ostrich. What's the first one that comes to mind?
A kiwi.
Chicken.
A chicken. That's
Okay, think bigger flightless bird.
Oh,
Turkey?
an emu.
There we go. That's the one I was looking after, and mostly for the pronunciation.
Uh-oh.
How do you pronounce that word, Way?
Emu?
Both of those apparently are considered correct, but according to The Guardian, in this article by Matilda Bosley, NPR's absurd pronunciation starts new emu war in Australia.
Wait,
There's been a debate over the name of this flightless bird as U.S. Public Radio declares incorrect pronunciation official. Now, let's go ahead and set the context here. The Guardian is a British publication, right? And we're coming at this from sort of an Australia and U.S. pronunciation kind of way. But the article kind of hilariously opens with a nod to the 1932 historic emu wars of Australia, where a small military brigade armed with 2 machine guns faced off against 20,000 emus.
That's right.
There's a link, but I didn't really care to learn more because that sounds just like an awful Texas feral hog from Helicopters massacre.
Yeah, and historically, I think I should also point out that the Australians lost the emu war.
Good. Good for them.
Wait,
I'm glad the emus
did they?
won.
Yeah, it's very much worth a read. It's very interesting and very entertaining.
I may have to click on that link then. It's in the article if you track it down. But anyway, there is a new emu war of 2020. It is a war of words. And the first shot was fired by National Public Radio in the US when it ruled on Friday that emu was a correct and acceptable pronunciation of the name of Australia's national bird. I didn't realize it was Australia's national bird. But what happened was someone tweeted out that after discussions with the editors and the NPR Research Archives and Data team, the ruling is that emu is acceptable. Now, the OED pronunciation favors emu, where you have a little bit of a Y sound in there. And there was a very swift backlash of mostly Australians Australians with comments labeling the decision absurd and a travesty. But a lot of Twitter commentators incorrectly assumed that the word emu stemmed from Indigenous Australian languages. But a professor of linguistics at the University of Sydney said this is likely not the case. They're not 100% sure, but it's assumed it came originally from Portuguese, and that's because the Portuguese word ema, E-M-A, was originally used to refer to a cassowary and may have been based on an Arabic word meaning big bird. Makes sense. And this is, as they note, pretty typical of English, which is absolutely chock full of words that are borrowed from languages from all over the world.
Right.
So both the Aussies and the Yanks are guilty of brutalizing the bird's name to suit their lazy Anglo accents, as the Guardian likes to editorialize. But Kate Burridge, a professor of linguists at Monash University in Victoria, said the progression from emu to emu is part of a larger trend. Another example of this is the word nude. Pronounced in decades past as nude, most Australians and Americans now say nude. And I do recall hearing some people say nude, and I thought it was just like a cute little affectation.
Like a sneering, yeah.
Exactly. Like it was more sort of a disdain as opposed to a pronunciation thing to inject it with a little bit of a tone, right? But American English speakers drop the sound much more than English speakers from England or Australia. So it's a sound that's starting to get lost to history. This article notes that even the name Susan used to be pronounced Susan.
All right.
Whoa. Okay.
But some of these have survived. So the word mute has that little Y in there. We could call it moot.
But that's a different
that's
word.
Another word.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm thinking about the phrase, cue ball. Cue ball would just not feel the same at all. So I guess I can get the outrage a little bit.
Yeah, well, and I can hear like the word duty, if a British person would say duty, there's a Y in there.
Oh, yes. And also you're also noting the T sound in duty or duty.
Right.
And, this linguist also wants to point out that the nature of language is inherently democratic, right?
Right.
It's like the public essentially uses language in a way that becomes a giant authority. So even if people who are historians and linguists say like, this is correct, if this is what people are saying, it becomes the correct.
It's the new
right?
correct. Yeah, absolutely. So Australia's mad, and Britain has officially said that both are acceptable. But it feels like most Americans are like, we don't care what is or isn't acceptable or who isn't mad. We're all just going to say emu, right? Does anybody say emu in America?
Probably. We might want to do some informal polls.
Yeah.
We might want to check the trending hashtag on Twitter. I'm sure a lot of people are volunteering their thoughts on the matter. But I don't know. I kind of like calling it an emu. That gives it a little bit of a kitty cat sound, which I'm quite fond of.
It makes me think of internet cats.
I'm trying to imagine, like, if I had 20,000 of them facing me down in an emu war, would I be more scared by emus or emus? I think emus sounds scarier, I think. If they're going to be if they're going to be attacking in herds, they're emus.
There's something sinister about that Y sound there.
Yeah. Maybe that alone will keep it in good circulation, even here in the bastardized Yank world of America.
Right.
Next link? Next link.
I'm on an animal theme today.
All right.
This article comes from NBCnews.com, and it's titled Bird Brain: Why a Cockatoo Trick in Australia Has Scientists Enthralled.
Ooh.
So, a few years ago, a Sydney scientist noticed a sulfur-crested cockatoo opening his trash bin. Not every resident would be thrilled by that, but ornithologist Richard Major was impressed by the ingenuity. It's quite a feat for a bird to grasp a bin lid with its beak pried open, then shuffle far enough along the bin's edge that the lid falls backwards, revealing edible trash treasures inside. Intrigued, Major teamed up with researchers in Germany to study how many cockatoos learn this trick. In early 2018, they found from a survey of residents that birds in 3 Sydney suburbs had mastered the novel foraging technique, and by the end, 2019, birds were lifting bins in 44 suburbs.
Wow.
So the researchers' next question was whether the cockatoos had each figured out how to do this alone, or whether they copied the strategy from experienced birds. Major said the spread wasn't just popping up randomly. It started in southern suburbs and radiated outwards. Scientists have documented other examples of social learning in birds. One classic case involves small birds called blue tits that learned to puncture foil lids of milk bottles in the United Kingdom starting in the 1920s. But observing a new cultural trend spreading in the wild or suburbs in real time afforded the cockatoo researchers a special opportunity, said Lucy Aplin, a cognitive ecologist at Max Planck Institute in Germany. During the summer of 2019, Trash Collection Day in suburban Sydney was the team's research day. As garbage trucks rolled down their routes and people shoved bins to the curb, Max Planck Institute behavioral ecologist Barbara Klump drove around and stopped to record cockatoos landing on bins. Not all cockatoos succeeded in opening them, but she took around 160 videos of victorious efforts. And I mean, like, I can't really picture this because just wild cockatoos in suburbs are not a thing.
That's bizarre
here,
enough. And then they're
Yeah.
like, I'm opening this garbage can. And then also there's a woman with a camera filming it right next to them.
Yeah. So, analyzing the footage, Klump realized the vast majority of birds opening bins were males, which tend to be larger than females. The birds that master the trick also tended to be dominant in social hierarchies. So, this suggests that if you're more socially connected, you have more opportunities to observe and acquire new behavior and also to spread it. Over the past decade, research has shown that urban adaptability is correlated with traits like innovativeness, behavioral flexibility, and exploration. What the new research adds to that understanding is that critters that easily transmit knowledge and new skills socially also have an advantage. Australian Museums Major says everyone in Sydney has an opinion about cockatoos. Whether you love to watch these big, flamboyant social birds or think they're a pest, you have to respect them.
Yeah, I mean, I have to admit, if some creature is going to be digging in my garbage can, I'd rather it be a pretty bird than a raccoon.
Amen.
Who's
Yeah.
fundamentally a little scary to me. Like, birds at least are pretty.
Yeah. To be fair, I would be pretty embarrassed if I got bullied by a pack of cockatoos.
Yes.
Look, they're only going to bully you if you're not making efforts to befriend them.
That sounds like a mob racket where they're coming in going, we offer you protection. If you don't want your garbage can run over by those raccoons, you better
That's
pay
right.
us. And then
They call me king of the cockatoos. What are you going to do?
Next link.
Next link.
I had to grab this just for the title alone, but this Guardian article from Charlotte Graham McLay is called Like a Stephen King Movie. Feral chickens return to plague New Zealand village. That's right. If you think you had it bad during the lockdown, perhaps you can spare a shred of sympathy for the residents of Titirangi, which is a suburb of fewer than 4,000 people. And as the article notes, about 20 to 30 feral chickens.
wow. So that's not many, but I can imagine if you got 20 or 30 birds working in coordination, like they're raptor descendants, they could do some damage.
They can, and it's mostly because this is an issue that they've been dealing with for a while. So basically, this really all started in 2008 when a resident released 2 domesticated chickens in the village and they, quote, went rogue.
Nice.
And so the flock's numbers obviously swelled in the years since, and there were as many at the peak in 2019 as 250 feral chickens, which for a suburb of 4,000 people is a lot, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So they're thinking that it was a combination of being sleep deprived and seeing the neighborhood wrecked that really engendered a lot of animosity towards these dear little animals. But the last straw came when the suburb was terrorized by a pestilence of rats that were, quote, the size of cats. And they were attracted by the food that had been left out for the birds. So once the rats really started coming by, the residents were like, okay, the chickens have got to go. And so what they had started doing was setting up large nets in different parts of the village. They rounded up about 230 of the birds. And then the plan was just send them off to this farm so they could live happily ever after. But then COVID happened. And what that meant is that the birds who had escaped capture were the especially wily birds. And when people started to come out, because New Zealand has relaxed a lot of their standards, the chickens were back. And they've basically traced this to, quote, a very kind-hearted local who feeds them and has kept feeding them, so the numbers have started to spike up again. The end quote of this article is my favorite. As long as locals continue to feed the chickens, the menace would likely continue. Quote, I know who it is and I can't make her stop, he said. I've tried.
That seems like the stereotype of the crazy cat lady, where it's like,
Yep.
you understand that this is causing a problem, but also you just can't bring yourself to do what would ultimately be better. But in the short term, it's like, yeah, they're going to go hungry.
Yep. I mean, in Austin, at least on some of the conversations I've seen on Nextdoor, there are very similar things happening with pigeons, although I don't think those are attracting rats, or if they do, people are going to pay attention. And coyotes especially. Like there are some people, because we live close to kind of one of the little nature preserves that are kind of sprinkled throughout Austin. I guess there are some coyote pups. Some people think that they might be puppies or I don't know what, but there are some residents who continue to feed coyotes, which means that they keep coming out of the nature preserve and into where humans are and getting hit by cars or just menacing the other local wildlife, taking pets. You know, it comes from a good place, but it's got to be with community consensus, you know?
Yeah, well, and coyotes seems a little crazier to me as well, because like you said, they can eat other pets, and they've even like attacked kids sometimes if they get brave. I don't know.
That's true, but the chickens are definitely a nuisance, at least with, quote, their raucous clucking, which is depriving residents of sleep.
That's true. If you're going to make me choose between my kid or never sleeping again, I don't know. I might.
Next link.
Next link.
So, speaking of cultures and non-verbals, let's talk about the verbals of birds.
Yay!
So this article comes to us from nationalgeographic.com. It is titled, "These Parrots Developed New Dialects in Captivity.
Oh my gosh!
Can their wild kin understand them?"
Ooh.
Yeah.
Can they?
So captive. Yeah, we'll find out. Captive breeding saved the Gabby birds from extinction, but it also changed their way of communicating, which raises a concern for their future. Today, there are squawks, shrieks, and whistles from parrots reverberating throughout the rainforest of Puerto Rico, but a few decades ago, these sounds almost disappeared. Deforestation had taken its toll on these Puerto Rican parrots, and before European colonization in the 1500s, their population was estimated at 1 million. But by 1970, as few as 13 of these Puerto Rican parrots were left in the wild and confined to one of the island's only remaining forest patches, the El Yunque. In a last-ditch effort to pull the species back from extinction, conservationists began to breed the parrots in captivity. And it was a successful gambit, though the chatty emerald green birds are still considered critically endangered. Today, more than 600 exist, which is quite good from 13.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately, there may be a new threat to their survival, conservationists say. Captive parrots have developed an entirely new dialect, which is a phenomenon that hasn't actually been observed before in other bird populations. The person studying this is Tanya Martinez, who is a conservation biologist with the Puerto Rico Department of Natural and Environmental Resources. Around 2013, Martinez, who was then a master's student at the University of Puerto Rico, began to notice that the Puerto Rican parrots didn't all sound alike. And she says if you would go into the El Yunque forest to work with the wild population, it would almost sound like a different species. She wanted to learn more about this, so she eavesdrops on all 4 parrot populations in existence, and there are 2 wild and 2 captive, and recorded them. And what she heard confirmed her suspicion. The vocalizations weren't the same from one population to another. So with the wild population so depleted, the scientists had to get creative. They brought closely related Hispaniolan parrots, which were relatively plentiful in their native countries of Haiti and the Dominican Republic, to Puerto Rico and put them to work as surrogate parents, raising Puerto Rican parrot chicks.
Aw.
I mean, that's good. Like, it feels like stealing babies and shipping them off to other families, but I can see how it is in a non-human context, it's okay. There's just a part of me that's like, what? No, what?
Yeah, I mean, they're kind of almost forcing some of these birds to be dodo birds, you know? It's kind of... But so, with all of these different populations in existence now, Martinez actually recorded all 4 populations in the field and converted more than 800 hours of bird recordings to visual representations called spectrograms, which will show you the frequency distribution of sound. They focused on the 2 most common calls, the caw and the chee, that flock members exchange to keep in contact with each other. And the research revealed that captive birds make caw and chee calls with at least 2 different syllables, while the wild El Yunque birds make entirely different calls, which are essentially a single syllable on repeat. And the vocal changes didn't end there. They also found that each subsequent time the conservationists broke the birds off into new groups, tiny innovations would creep into their calls. So the captive Rio Abajo group began to sound distinct from its captive parent flock in El Yunque. And after the Rio Abajo captive birds were released into the Rio Abajo forest, the calls changed again.
I mean, it feels like if they can change that quickly, they also should be able to adapt. Like, if you introduce 2 flocks that didn't know each other's language, it seems like they should be able to pick them up pretty quick if they're adapting that quickly or splitting off that quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can imagine them starting to gesticulate more, to smile a lot more.
They're
You know.
smiling like Americans.
Yeah, exactly. So to help the captive birds pick up the wild vocalizations, the recovery program has actually turned to reintroducing parrots to serve as tutors. So there are birds scheduled for release into the El Yunque forest, and they first spend a period of time at a site where they can watch, listen to, and learn from their soon-to-be peers. Conservationists have also stopped using Hispaniolan parrots as surrogates now that there's enough Puerto Rican parrots to raise their own chicks.
I mean, it sounds like there's not going to be any kind of like Sharks versus the Jets thing going on. It feels like they're all going to work it out.
Yeah, they all want to work together,
Yeah.
it seems, you know? Yeah, they're pros.
All right, well, that's going to wrap it up for this bonus episode. We hope you've enjoyed it. As always, if you like our podcast and want to support us, you can do so at patreon.com/damninterestingweek. In the meantime, my name is Jennifer Lee Noonan,
I'm Angela Epley.
I'm Spurr-Chen.
I'm Bradley Calhoun.
and we hope you have a damn interesting week. Bye-bye.